Hello, my name is Emily Coney, and this is my project plan presentation for Project Management MBA 6310. So the project that I chose to do was the completion of my basement. About 3 years ago, my husband and I built our home, and due to financial constraints, we decided to hold off on finishing the basement and decided that we would save up money and pay cash for the basement finish. So that is what we have decided to do. We also have family coming in from out of town for Christmas this year, and we would like to give them kind of their own space to have while they're here. So by finishing the basement, we will add 1,000 square feet of living space to our home. This will include a bedroom and a full bathroom, and also a kitchenette and just additional living space to kind of do whatever we want with. So, a few of the project details for the completion of my basement. We will we plan on doing most of the work ourselves. My husband's quite handy. He's pretty good at doing anything, manual labor, anything that needs to be done like that around the house, he can usually do. So, we also have several family members that um, can point us in the right direction if we're not sure how to do something. Um, with that being said, we will need an outside contractor for the cabinets and flooring. Um, our plan is to use the same companies that did the rest of the house when we built, so we kind of want to keep um, the same kind of flow throughout the whole house, so our cabinets and our flooring will match the rest of the house. Um, Another detail for the project, everything, like all the tasks that we have to do, kind of have to be done in chronological order. So we have to do the very first step before we can move on to the next step, and it has to be completely finished. And that's throughout the whole project. So we do have to kind of go in order of all of our steps, and complete one task before we can move on to the next. So some alternatives for the project, there really aren't any alternatives in the sense of, I guess if we don't do it, we just won't have a finished basement. So um, that's alternative number one. We wouldn't have that additional living space. And as far as our company coming in for the holidays, we do have a place that we could that they could stay. Um, it would be in one of our kids' rooms, which isn't really ideal for anyone. So we could do it, but it wouldn't, be great. It would be fantastic if we could have this done by then. The other alternative would be paying a contractor. Again, I don't know that this would be feasible to do. It would add a pretty significant cost to the project, and I don't know that we would be able to do it if we did have to pay a contractor. Some of the risks associated with the project are the biggest risk is probably just not finishing on time. Again, wouldn't be a huge issue if it's not finished. We would figure it out, and we would have a place for our company to stay. Um, but hopefully we won't run into that, and we have already started working on the first part of the project, so hopefully we'll have it wrapped up by Christmas. The next risk is if we run into not being able to do the work ourselves. If we run into something that my husband isn't sure how to do, no one in our family is sure how to do, um, that would ultimately become an issue. We would have to probably contract that out, or hold off and save some more money, or figure out how to do it ourselves. So that's a big risk. The other risk is not having the correct tools that we need to do the project. I think we have built in a little bit of cushion in our budget that if we do need to rent or buy, it would likely be buy the correct tool. We do have some extra funds that I think we would be able to use for that. So hopefully that won't become a big issue. And I think that the last one is, it could happen. Hopefully it doesn't, but As everyone has seen in the last couple years, supply chain issues are a huge problem, with just across the board with everything, not even necessarily construction. So um, we have already contacted the contractors for the cabinets and flooring, so they are aware of the, I guess, order. Um, we already have our drywall, so it might be kind of the finishing pieces of the project that we might run into this, but hopefully, we have, hopefully we won't run into that, and we'll be able to keep on the timeline as we have planned. So for the cost benefit analysis, there really isn't, as I kind of spoke about on the previous slide, there really isn't an alternative to completing the basement. So um, I to kind of figure out the cost benefit, I looked up on Zillow, just to kind of see how completing a basement could increase the value of a home. So according to Zillow, the homeowners can expect to see their home's value increase by up to 70% of their investment by finishing the basement. I think this is kind of um, a relative number, because so many people do so many different things to their basement. So with us having an additional bedroom and bathroom, I think it would likely increase a little bit more. Um, but I, without actually getting an appraisal done, I can't say that for sure. But with that 70%, by using that, the total cost that's estimated is $16,200. 70% of that would be 11,340. So, I guess that's a benefit of finishing the basement, but really the biggest benefit is just having that additional 1,000 square feet of livable space, having that additional bedroom and bathroom. There is a little kitchenette, there will be a little kitchenette down there, and just having that extra room, to have company over, or whatever it is that we want to do. We just have that additional space, so that's really the largest benefit of finishing the basement. So, as I mentioned previously, everything, all of the phases can have to happen in chronological order, and have to be complete before we can move on to the next phase. So, the work breakdown structure just kind of shows what each phase entails. So we have the planning phase. That's already been complete. We've pretty much done everything that we need to as far as planning. So right now we're working on the electrical and plumbing. That does have to be complete before we can move on to the drywall phase, which has to be complete before we can do cabinets and then flooring and so on and so forth. So this just kind of breaks down what each step, we will need to what all we need to complete for each step, before we can move on to the next and then ultimately finish the basement. So the network diagram, essentially shows how many days, each step in the project it takes. Um, so as I mentioned, this project is a little unique in that we have to completely finish one step of the project before we can move on to the next. So there really is no early start or late start for each individual step. They're all the same. But from start to finish, we're looking at 107 days, which hopefully, that puts us about a week and a half prior to Christmas. I did add quite a bit of cushion in here when I was planning on the days. I don't know that it will take as long as I have put in here, but hopefully we have enough cushion. We'll be fine to make it in time for Christmas. But if not, we do have an extra 10 days that we can hopefully finish anything up that we might need to, prior to our company coming. For the budget for this project, I was able to price the majority of the items that we needed, um, knowing that, we kind of sat down and put together a list of everything that we would need. I did this in August, so it is relative to to pricing right now as we see it. I know inflation is a little bit of an issue right now, so these are uh, pretty accurate as far as I know on the cost of everything. So um, I did add some cushion in there, um, especially knowing that supply chain is an issue. We may have to end up choosing something more expensive if we are unable to find the things that we need that we have not already got. I I don't foresee that being an issue as far as cost increasing due to supply chain issues, but it is nice that we do have that cushion in there. Um, Again, tools, or if we do have to contract something out, I think we will be okay as far as budget goes. So the schedule is an additional way to see the timeline of the project. As mentioned previously, this graphically shows that one step must be complete before we can move on to the next. Um, this also shows that this puts us at a finish date of December 15th, which leaves us an additional 10 days of cushion before our company comes. So again, we'll have a little bit of extra time. I don't think that it will take that long, but hopefully we have given ourselves enough time and enough cushion in there for each step that we will have plenty of time to get everything finished. So the last piece of the project is just the communication. Fortunately for this project, my husband and I are doing kind of all of it, so there's really not anyone else to communicate with specifically about the project. So just a few things that he and I have already talked about, and we'll continue to talk about just the planning phase and the budget, and just kind of knowing all of the things that we need for the budget as far as materials, or I'm sorry, for the project, and then I was able to then make the budget. We will have to have continuous conversations regarding the budget as we buy things, just to make sure we are on track, make sure that we're not over budget. If some of the risks I discussed earlier do come up and turn into issues, we might have to revisit the budget and kind of discuss how to go through that. We've kind of already had the technical design meetings just to kind of figure out how we wanted to lay things out, how we're going to do things. I don't foresee us having to do any of those meetings going forward. I think that, if we do run into any issues, we may have to kind of change how we want to do something. But I think for the most part, that portion of it's probably complete. And then we will just have to kind of have um, just status updates. Where are we at? Are we meeting our timeline? Are we, over on days on some of the on a step, or do we have a little bit of a cushion on one of the steps? So just kind of continuing to have those conversations to make sure that we are staying on track. So again, since it's a personal project, everything will be face to face. I say there will be an agenda, but it's really just kind of a, hey, we need to talk about this for our project. So hopefully the communication for that will be relatively easy and go smoothly, and we won't have any issues there. And um, the project will hopefully be complete by Christmas.